Welcome to the Aquarium Nerd Show. Cushman and Silver Serpent might drop in. We're gonna start out because I'm a reggae fan. Just kind of am. I like chilling in my fish room. I think we'll start the show with the song I kind of like. Sums up a Friday. There we go. We'll jam out to this while I get everything ready. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling irate. Clean up in here. I've got no time to be feeling rude. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the music I love. Reggae music. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the woman I love. To some reggae music. I've been working 9 to 5, from Monday to Friday. No, my body feel like I'm in overdrive. Back and forth on the highway. So I'm so happy when the weekend come. I tell myself it's time to have some fun. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the music I love. Reggae music. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the woman I love. To some reggae music. 1 cup of coffee, then I go. Time to go palm me in to play some domino. It's the weekend, that's why me happy so. In Jamaica we say later, leave more. So I can't say another word. From I get the high grade from Hollywood. Every time I smoke it travel to me blood. Let me see more stars and up Hollywood. Don't work, now a happy time. Can't kill out yourself in the dollar kind. Only one thing me up on me mind. Feel me okay while the sun a shine. Music is the healing of the nation. So I love the true reggae vibration. Music give I real inspiration. With a higher meditation. So I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the music I love. Reggae music. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the woman I love. To some reggae music. Man, I chill out. Man, I chill out. Cause I know my skill that there's a time to build, but now is the time to chill. So man, I chill out. Man, I chill out. And the beat side are on top of the hill. Oh, I am me day on the grill. Yeah, I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the music I love. Reggae music. I just wanna dance and listen some robado, chill out, and make love to the woman I love. To some reggae music. I just wanna dance and listen some robado. The music I love. Reggae music. I just robado, chill out, to some reggae music. There we go. Little chill out from Anthony B there. All right, see what we got on our test strips. So our nitrite is good. Nitrates looks like we have a little bit in there. And these are all newer tanks we're setting up here. So, and we do have a new
utility. I won't mention our utility's name, but the former utility owner in this HOA community was kind of a corrupt deal. He actually went to prison. And here in Phoenix, he went to prison, and he had another utility. The court system stepped in and made him surrender his water utility to a major water utility. And so there's been a switch up and a changeover in what the water supply is going to be. And it looks like kind of settling in. They said to give it a little bit of time to settle in and see what we're going to have for water supply. It looks like what I'm going to end up doing, and I kind of noticed that some of the algae that's coming on a little bit in these new tanks is a little bit brown. You get some green, but a little browner, which means to me, I've always equated that with either hard water or something's a little bit out of whack. And I kind of knew that. And it looks like we have a little bit of looks like our pH is actually not too bad. Oh no, she's a little bit high. Right in between 7.6, 7.8. Looks like we have a little bit of alkalinity we're dealing with in the water. And looks like we have a little bit of nitrate. So, kind of what I've been coming up with solutions on what I'm going to do to fix this as far as what the solution is. Because I kind of knew that the tap water here wasn't going to be sufficient. However, I was really hoping that this new water utility company would be able to correct some of these things. It looks like right now I'm at 20 in my nitrates, which is not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's not like, oh, I better run out and change all the water in my tanks. And it looks like the total hardness, and my eyes are getting older, kind of stinks because I'm having to admit that I need reading glasses for the first time in my life, which really sucks. Guess you're admitting your own mortality. Looks like, yeah, we're right around, I'm going to say 140, which isn't great, but it isn't terrible. The alkalinity is kind of what has me worried a little bit. I really don't like that. And I really don't like the fact that I'm right at the 7.8 to right in that range for the pH, which is high. Now these tanks are platies, which they'll do fine in hard water. Some people argue they like the hard water a little bit more. This being Arizona, you typically deal with a lot of hard water. And most of the fish that you get here have been acclimatized to that. However, to fix the problem, I never dwell on the problem, but what the solution is. Solution is pretty simple for me. I will be going down and formerly in a cultivation endeavor we had going, I was using RO water anyways. So what I'm going to do is kind of monitor it, and I'm going to do probably this weekend a 20% change on the tanks and just use some RO water. One of the cautions, if you ever use reverse osmosis water, is the fact that it has very little ability for buffering, which if I'm not going to get into the weeds on that, I can get pretty technical on it. We'll just keep it simple, which is stability in your water, where your pH isn't going up and down and up and down and up and down. You need some buffering capability for that. So going to complete RO water, some people do it, but it's a really difficult thing to keep your pH stable and keep other parameters from going up or crashing. You've probably heard the term crashing. But I feel that a 20% change, and then I'll monitor it next week and figure out how much that dilutes and dilutes down the hardness and drops the pH. I do know the water source. I go to a water station here, being Arizona. There's a ton of water stations. I do know exactly what their stuff is. I've used a pH meter, a Blue Lab pH meter on it, and a ppm meter as well. So I know that it's good RO water. Usually it comes out under 15 ppm, which is pretty clean water. And that ought to drop us down. So right now we're dealing with hard water with a higher pH in it. And we've got a little bit of alkalinity in there too, which I really don't like. Um, and we're running some live plants, which a lot of the live plants don't like the high pH and hard water. Now the Java fern that we have and the Java moss, they do real well in the hard water. I just like to drop the pH, which I kind of knew. Uh, we were just really hoping that the water utility company, I'm sure they will eventually, that they'll fix that. But and I've been avoiding the cost of going down and kind of the hassle of lugging 5 gallon jugs of water into the house. And I don't want to invest in hundreds of dollars in an RO filter system. Being a plumber, previously a pool plumber, I can plumb in an RO system. Um, I just really don't want to do it, just to be quite honest with you. So at 30 cents a gallon, or I think it's 25 cents a gallon for the good water, it's going to cost me about $5 a week, $5 to $10 a week, right in that range to supply the water for these. So we'll go ahead and do that this weekend, and tomorrow I'll get my water changes done. I'll just pack a couple 5 gallon jugs of water. And kind of the warning signs is the color of the algae. Being kind of old school, it's one of the things I've always noticed. Okay, green algae, okay. We've got, people can argue about algae, but green algae, hey, that's not an unhealthy algae, right? I don't like brown algae, and I don't like any slime algae, anything like that. That's a tip off to me that water quality is a question mark. It does happen that we do have fish species that do okay in those kind of water conditions, with the platies. The betas like it a little bit softer, but they'll do okay. They're a real hardy fish. However, what concerns me is the live plants that I want to grow really, really well, and especially in my daughter's tank. So, if not me, for the kids, right? So, what I'm going to do is just start doing water changes with RO water, and we'll figure out based on what I do. I'm going to start with the 20. And hey, if the 20% dilutes it down enough, we can do the math on that. 20% dilution on 160, that's going to drop me down. You can do the math calculation. Being a pool plumber, and then as a service manager, pool plumber for a pool company. And obviously, we know water quality and parameters, and there is a math formula for dilution rate based on pH. I'm figuring that a 20% change ought to drop me right down into the 7.4 range from where I'm sitting at now. And if not, if my calculations are wrong, I'm okay with admitting that I'm wrong. The easy solution is a little bit more of a water change. And that's kind of that. The other solution as well, there are other products out there. There are Indian almond leaves that I can get that'll put little bags. I crush those, put them up in a little filter media bag. That'll soften the water quite a bit. There's water softening pillows. There are correct pH tabs, which I really don't like to get hooked on a chemical to fix the problem. I'd much rather have more of a natural solution to an aquarium issue. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, on a good note, I got rid of, if you've noticed in the baby tank here, try to scoot the laptop a little closer, trying to come up with a good solution for an inexpensive webcam that'll work hooked into our laptop. So anybody knows of a good brand or has a recommendation that isn't like a $5,000 live stream camera that's affordable on a budget, leave suggestions in the comments. I'm always looking for advice on that. And I'm not a techie, so I do the best I can. But in here, we still have the aqua nursery. She's empty right now. However, we released all the fry into the main 10-gallon tank here. And so far, it looks like they're all doing really, really well. We haven't lost any. And I went ahead and moved the female beta that was in the ICU here that had been beaten up by the male after breeding. I moved her into a little 1.5 gallon cube over here that I modified the filter on. And we introduced the Chinese algae eater yesterday to our breeding stock tank, and he's already begun to make a dent. I would say he got rid of probably 25% of the algae that was in that tank in one day. You can see a whole section of the glass over here that is, you can see where he's been working hard. So he's been doing his job. I did notice in the main tank with the 2 algae eaters, the Chinese algae eaters, now we introduced a second one. One of them is a yellow-headed version of the Chinese algae eater, and it seems to be slightly, I don't know, they quarrel and bicker over the same spot of algae, I've noticed. However, they seem to be doing a really, really, really good job on wiping out the algae. The Titanic over here, which I'll take the laptop and show you. Anybody who had watched our previous live streams, the big giant Titanic ship we have here had been getting taken over by algae. And if you look, the white on that Titanic is pretty white again. This is a 60-gallon tank, so, and the vast majority of that work was done by one Chinese algae eater that's smaller, a younger Chinese algae eater. You can see one of them over there in the back kind of flashing up and down. So there's kind of proof. I mean, it's not spotless, but boy, it's getting that way. And they've completely cleaned the back glass to the aquarium. The front glass, it looks like they're doing a pretty good job on that, and they're kind of catching up. They got rid of any algae. They're down tube of the power filter. You could kind of see the green of the algae, and they've been working on that. So it's one of the best $3 you'll ever spend. Are these little Chinese algae eaters. A little bit skittish. This is a $3 algae eating investment that didn't cost me any chemicals or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is shut down my brine shrimp hatchery here. Turn the camera over there. You can see, and if you subscribe to our channel or you watched our videos, you saw where I made the DIY brine shrimp hatchery over here. It's been going strong. It's been real simple and easy to use. One of the reasons I like it. So we're going to go ahead and try to pull up our flashlight. And we might be able to give these little baby fry in here a nice fresh newborn brine or a newly hatched brine shrimp meal. Looks like we're going to have issues with it again. Anybody has any suggestions for a good flashlight app? That's one of the free ones, I guess. Mine seems to want to freeze and then try to play all kinds of junk ads. And I guess it's a sign of the times. Even a flashlight app on a phone is trying to sell you something. There we go. Get it to pop up. There we go. And kind of like I said before, oh yeah, we got lots of brine shrimp in there now. I'm going to go ahead and just put the light right up against let me fix the camera here. Just put my cell phone flashlight light right up against the brine shrimp hatchery right there. And while we're waiting, I'll give these guys a little bit of the food we love. Give them a prop up. Extreme fish food. Highest quality fish food you can get. Has a blend of krill and spirulina in it, which the fish just go nuts over it. And it is a color enhancing type of food too, so you really get the most out of the colors on your aquarium fish. So Extreme with an X if you're looking to pick up some new fish food or you need to refill your stockpile. I would highly recommend it. Now I'll just wait here for the brine shrimp to kind of come up to the light here. Apologize for the camera here. We'll be working on our camera at some point as far as upgrading to a webcam, but we're just starting out, so we appreciate all the subscribers and people that have been signing up, and I guess you'll be in on the early stages. You can grow with us. And once again, shout out to Corey with Aquarium Co-op, one of my favorite. Can't recommend it enough if you're looking to listen to a podcast or have some spare time and want to increase your knowledge, which is always a great thing, on aquariums, products. Absolutely an excellent podcast. Corey's a great guy. And it's kind of cool if you've hatched brine shrimp. You can watch them just spiraling, and you can see all the it's unless you've seen it, you wouldn't understand. But if you've seen it, you understand what I'm talking about. You just see this just microscopic twitching. It's like the water just has all these particles that are somehow independently alive, which is just badass. So what I'm going to do is take my handy dandy pan here and a siphon tube that I have. Take my top off this DIY. Once again, this is the 1.5 liter bottles here to make this with no air stone. Like other people I've heard, I thought I was alone in this for years, but I've never liked to put an air stone on my brine shrimp hatchery. To me, it's just another part you have to replace. It gets clogged up. And I find that I get a lot more agitation in the water for the brine shrimp with just an air hose. It's kind of cool listening to Corey on Aquarium Co-op. He's the same way. I was like, oh, wow, so I'm not the only crazy one. And so I just start a little siphon here with the air hose, and I'm going to siphon off some newborn baby. Oh, there's a big batch of them right there. Just siphon off some of these baby brine. Don't need that many. I don't know if I can get it on the camera here. Doesn't look like it, but in this pan, you can see there's not that much water in there. And I know some people use eyedroppers, things like that. We're not going to be that fancy. I guess I could be. I'm just going to take it and drop it right through the hatch for these newborn babies here. Maybe we can get some of them to come to the front of the tank. You can kind of see some of the fry there. If you guys are looking, you can see them swirling around in there. See if they figure it out here. Oh, yeah. They're starting to eat now. All right, guys. Have a good, fresh baby. There is arguably no better food for little baby fry and almost any fish than baby brine shrimp. I mean, shrimp's good for people, right? And, oh, wow, that little fry is going to be a black and white version of a platy. That's cool. Oh, and we're starting to be able to see the colors come out on some of the older fry. That is so exciting. I've got a black tail and black fins with a paler body on the one. That is going to be a really pretty one. Wow. Of course, we're starting to see some of the nice oranges in there. And these are a high fin variety. So we're going to see how much of the high fin comes out in these. And obviously, we're going to have to cull and different things with them. But this is going to be... we're going to pick the ones that we like the most, and I'm going to keep those as breeding stock, right? And just kind of build up from there. So far, we have about, let me see, I've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got about a dozen fry sitting in this tank right now. So that's pretty cool. There's more down there. So there's 15. So any of you have had baby fry, it's always madness counting these things, right? Until they get bigger. It's one of the joys of this. And I'll turn the laptop here. And adult fish, absolutely. My platies love the brine shrimp meal. You'll be able to see them kind of go nuts over it here. They'll figure it out in a second that it's there, and you'll see them just dart around in the water. And in case I have little baby fry in that, which I planted the back corner, you can see really heavy so that fry can survive. What I like to do is dump my brine shrimp in right where the discharge is of the power filter, so it kind of scatters those brine shrimp around a little bit, so some of the babies, if they're in there, can get a hold of them. And it does a really nice job sending little baby brine shrimp all over. You can kind of see them just going nuts and picking at them. And I find that the brine shrimp, if you haven't hatched brine shrimp, it is not a hard process. Which here's the brine shrimp hatchery. It is simply 2 1.5 gallon bottles. These are great value hydrate alkalinity water, and I believe it's 1.5 liters each. I don't think the size really matters. It's just they were nice, tough bottles. I find the alkaline bottles, they seem to be pretty thick and durable. But I took one and cut this section off. Right, you send your air hose. You just drill a hole through. You send your air hose through it, and you upside down, and you put that in, and that's your lid right here. That's nice. It's reusable. You have a check valve here, so you don't have any accidents, right? No leaking over the floor. And you take the second bottle, and you can see it goes to right here. And you cut about the bottom third off, and that becomes your stand. And you add 2 tablespoons of salt per every liter of water, and it depends on how many brine shrimp you want. How many? If you put in a teaspoon of brine shrimp in a container, that's a lot of brine shrimp. If you don't have a massive breeding operation, I mean, that's a lot of brine shrimp in there. You get tens of thousands of them in that. So I like to put, for me in particular, running a couple breeder tanks that we're just starting to fill up, the 60, the 55 downstairs. We've got 6 tanks basically off of this. I've been using half a teaspoon of brine shrimp and a shy half, and that seems to provide plenty. Right now I've fed both of these tanks adequately here, and I still have most of what I took out left in there. So I'll give them a little bit more here. And give the little babies a few more here. I've got to get in there and scrape the back of that tank, I guess. A little baby tank. You guys can kind of see that. You can see the algae growing on the back wall there. We'll have to get on top of that. But my opinion has always been, too, that this is a fry tank, a nursery tank. The fry really like to pick at it. And I always likened it to salad and people. And I've done some green water cultures in the past for infusoria. And I know there are a lot of beneficial things to having this algae in there too. So I'm not in a panic about it. I've never tried the Chinese algae eaters in a baby tank before. So I'm not sure if they would be aggressive in going after them or not. So I might have to do a little bit of research or ask my buddy at the Cichlid Shack there what his advice on that would be. Anybody else has any absolutely without...
After using 2
without fail, peaceful fish. Algae eaters, let me know. I'm pretty sure that the Chinese algae eater would be okay. I've never had an issue with them. I've never seen them as really any predatory activities in the aquarium. Oddly enough, when I fed live tubifex worms in the past, they haven't been absolutely vigorous going after those. So we might have to, after sure people will cry about it, but once we get some idea of cold fish and things like that here, we might have to take out the stock that we want, leave the culls in here, and then maybe introduce a Chinese algae eater and see what happens. It's a good way. It's the beauty of the aquarium hobby is you're always learning stuff. You're always learning absolutely brand new things, so you can experiment. It's pretty cool. And I'm a nerd for new knowledge. I'm constantly digging up. Just try to absorb as many. I guess people who know me call me the encyclopedia of useless knowledge. So I don't consider it useless, but I like to absorb new facts and information and try new things and see what works. I really like this baby in the back, and I'm really sorry. I apologize again about the camera. I'm going to have to really dig into that. But there are a couple babies here that I really love the coloring to. It's a black and white spotted so far. I'm not sure if the white's it looks like it might turn into a little bit of an orange in there. But so far it looks like kind of like a Dalmatian Molly type of coloring, like a Dalmatian platy. I really like that. Some of these fry, I'm getting excited here. But some of these fry look like they have a really nice black fin on them, like the kind of the red wags where they have the little black outline, or the Mickey Mouse, right? It's kind of cool. I can't have any more kids like human kids, but I can have all kinds of new babies in here, which is kind of cool. It's always cool. It's seeing what your babies are going to look like as they grow up in here. And the rewarding thing is, unlike kids, where you got to wait years for them to actually talk and have a cool conversation with them, here they're never going to have a cool conversation, but you don't have to wait long to see what you're getting. There's a pretty little black one right up front here. You guys kind of see in there. I don't know how well the camera is translating that, but you can kind of see that aqua nursery over here. I can't recommend more highly a nursery system for us. Just a small apparatus. I mean, we're not pond breeding here. We're going to be really selectively breeding for the color types we like and running a genetic line. I know it's going to take several years to come up with my own line that I want, but I'm going to select the traits I want and keep breeding back. I understand some genetics, so we're going to try to come up with, I have an idea in my mind of what I would like to see stabilized in the platy strain. And I really like the high-finned platies. So I'm thinking more along the lines of a high-finned Mickey Mouse strain that is that's really, really vibrant. And we've got a beautiful high-finned platy male over here and a beautiful high-finned platy female. And then what I did is selected the fish that I purchased. I selected specific individual fish, as much as the aquarium stores hate that. Let me have that platy right over there, but I did it. And what I really like are the black fins on the orange body with the high fin. And I'm going to try to really isolate that color type. And there's a lot of issues with that. You can't, I really like the red kind of alpha color, but you can't get a red alpha platy by breeding back to a red alpha. You have to introduce a swordtail, because that's how that variety came about, was breeding a platy to a swordtail. I mean, there's a lot of specifics in there. And so far, if you followed the live cast the other day, We made our modification to the Penguin 150 here with the bio wheel, and we added the piece of foam, the aquarium foam, to the end of the intake tube so we wouldn't suck it in the fry. For the camera, this is kind of what we use. It was $4.99 at one of the P stores. And just cut a section, carved out a hole gradually so that it was snug the whole time, and boom, stuck it up there. So you kind of get the benefits of it's going to extend the cartridge life or the filter media life that's in there. It catches some of the bigger debris. And you get some beneficial bacteria that grow on the intake sponge as well. If you ever notice you have your baby fry picking at it, and it's just a good all-around thing. It slows that filter down a little, which makes swimming a little bit easier for the fry. And most importantly, you don't end up killing your baby fish by having them sucked and, I guess, chopped up by an impeller. And so far, our female beta, she was in the ICU tank, but the betas can be extremely aggressive going after fry. It's just one of the things they do. We put her in this little tank here, little 1.5 gallon triangle tank, with a modified power filter. If you look, it's one of those cheap Tetra filters, the submersibles. They do an okay job. But they also have an intake, and in case I wanted to put fry in here in the future, I went ahead and put some flat filter floss material around the intake on that, so that it'll also extend the life and it wouldn't suck any baby fry up in there. And she seems to be doing well. She was the one that was almost dead. If you follow the videos, she was pretty badly hurt by the male when they bred. And she's active. You can see her just fluttering around in there. She's really, really active, and she seems to be really happy. So she's healing up nicely. They're one of the toughest aquarium fish on the planet, is the beta. And if you understand the environment they come from in Thailand and some of those areas, they're living in basically mud puddles, right? So, and rice paddies and, just horrific water conditions if you compare them to our modern aquarium here. So they're a pretty hardy fish. And to kind of close out here, we'll take you up to the big tank and the 60 here. Let you see how the 60's looking. And it's looking really good, actually. You can see the spider-shaped Java moss ball. It's starting to already grow. The Java moss is. It's accelerating. And there's the red marble angels that we got for silver serpent. They are just gorgeous, and they're a really personable fish. I mean, they're kind of beggars. That's what silver serpent calls them, beggars. And we're kind of figuring our favorites now because we're going to be breeding these and isolating specific ones we like. And we really love this male he's got kind of a black blotch on his lower lip here. It's really cute. And he's got a lot more red on his forehead. And of course, there's the albino melendiscus right here. Just absolutely a personable fish. He's always been to the front of the tank. And there's the yellow-headed Chinese algae eater there. Oh, and there's the paradise fish. Also one of those ones, they can be a bit of a bully. He's going to be in with angelfish, and the angelfish can kind of hold their own against him. And he seems to be a pretty mellow one, but they're always extremely active, and they're one of those beggar fish. They're always at the front of the tank begging for food. So if you see a paradise fish at your aquarium shop, they're a super hardy fish. They're really kind of personable. They get to know their owners a bit. It's kind of like luck of the draw. You can get some of them that are a little bit of a bully. So kind of pick the tank that you have them in. They're not aggressive enough to be in with, convict cichlids and things like that. But, an angelfish, fish are going to be a little bit bigger. So far, he hasn't done anything. He seems to be pretty personable. He hasn't bugged the platies that are in here. These are some male overstock that we have. I only have one male that I've picked to be inbreeding with the platy females that are in there in the other tank. And so I put all my other males in here. Oh, You can see the Chinese algae eater. There's two of them. You can see them kind of squabbling. I think they're learning to coexist now, though. And they're super active. They're one of the more enjoyable algae eaters. Instead of like a pleco, sometimes the plecos are just, kind of lay around and look like they're asleep half the time. These guys are super active. So if you like activity in your community, you can kind of see them eating away at the Titanic here. There he is right there. Oh, you can see a little nitpicking. So far, this is the Java fern that we got. And it looks like it's doing good. And it's adapting. We have a sword, Amazon sword here with some hornwort tangled in it. And so far, it looks like the hornwort with the hard water and kind of the water quality we talked about. The hornwort, it seems to be, going a little bit brownish here. That might be some algae growing on it. It's not doing quite as well, which is kind of my tip off to, okay, if I want the hornwort in here, I'm going to have to adjust. Now, the sword is doing really, really well, and it really likes it. And then the Java fern, which if you know anything about Java ferns, they tend to do really well in some of those water parameters that we're dealing with. They're pretty hardy. One thing I am going to do and take for my cultivation days and introduce to this is a homemade CO2 reactor made out of yeast and sugar, which if anybody here pays for CO2, things like that, this can save you a ton of money if you're not afraid to do twice a week to service it. I can show you how for under 50 cents a week you can supply CO2 to a tank, a smaller tank on a nice, easy, and a super easy DIY hack. So you guys will have to stay tuned for that, and I'll do a video. But it's a homemade CO2 yeast reactor, and generates its own CO2. It works really, really well. I've used it in indoor gardening and in plant nurseries and clone domes, taking clones, cuttings. Works super, super well. And I've had it in front of a CO2 meter. And I've watched it in a clone dome take the ambient CO2 of about 400 to 500 in my house and boost it to over 1700 in a clone dome. And the cool thing is you use aquarium tubing to make it. So it definitely coincides with aquarium, and it's a great way to introduce some extra CO2 inexpensively on a budget to your aquarium. So we'll go ahead and do that in a future episode here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is close this out with another thinking of my boy. Shout out to White Point there. Shout out to White Point. You know who you are. I'm a Viking boy over there, North County. I'll play this song for you. Plan to be back over to the beach in Cali soon. This is Cali Love by Arise Roots and Cully Buds off the Cali Roots Ride 'em 2020. Gonna close this out here. If I don't get another phone call or notification.
As soon as the sunshine lights my face, me have a link with the homies come through, no time to waste. We bumpin' reggae up the ride so my girl can wind her waist. Yeah, this vibe is one of a kind, no better place. From Monterey to the hills of Hollywood, they go to the bay, you know what's good. All day, any day, you know we good. Smoking love like stick and collie buds. We keep it hotter, hotter. Put up a gunman and a shotter. From the beach to the mountainside, there's really just nothing like Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. Come get this Cali love, Cali love, Cali
New baby nut.
You want this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. We got this Cali love, Cali love.
do our room cleanup.
Beautiful girls, beautiful people. No place in the world can do it like we do. So get the fire in the challenge, cause we're blazing all night. Blazing all night. Forget the noise in the channel, cause we're feeling alright. Feeling alright. From Monterey to the hills of Hollywood, they go to the bay, you know it's good. All day, any day, you know we good. Smoking love like stick and collie buds. We keep it hotter, hotter. Put up a gunman and a shotter. From the beach to the mountainside, there's really just nothing like Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. Come get this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. You want this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. We got this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. More life, more love. All I think of, more life, more love. All I dream of, Cali love, Cali love.
Yeah, shout out White Point.
Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. You want this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. We got this Cali love, Cali love, Cali love. 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 Cali love, Cali love, Cali love.
All right, y'all. That'll do it for another session here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, we get more advanced. We'll get some more little tricks. I'm going to have a Silver Serpent doing some of the video editing. And she took a video editing course in one of her last quarters in high school here. So we're going to kind of turn over some of the video editing duties to her, which makes me prouder than hell as a dad, right? For sure. It's nice to have a great daughter who's intelligent. And, hey, she's a fellow aquarium nerd, so she joins the rest of us. So peace until next time.